It's time for this week's episode of Brandon's Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon's Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon's Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview Zach Demusz, who works in the NFL along with other leagues. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic, Brandon. Thanks so much for having me on.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to work in the professional sports?
Well, it kind of started more on the broadcasting end than it did sports. In grade school, I had the privilege of doing like the morning and afternoon announcements. And I was just doing the announcements one day, and the nurse came in and said, "Hey, you have a pretty good voice, like over the air like that. Like maybe you should go into like radio or broadcasting." And I will never forget that. Since that day in eighth grade till now, it's solely been focused on radio and broadcasting. And then, my love of sport kind of really just kind of interjected with that, and it's been a journey that I've loved ever since that day.
What was your experience like being the color analyst for the Temple football?
Yeah, so and you see I got the Temple helmet right behind me there on my Xbox, which is pretty cool. I got that for Christmas. But it was fantastic, especially in a season like this where not a lot of people were allowed in the stadium to begin with. So and if even for me, like when I did that first game back in the fall, I haven't been in the link, and we'll get to like being in the link what I do there, but that was my first time there. So I remember getting to the booth and just kind of looking out into the field and being like, wow, like I'm back. Like it feels so good. And just to watch the team this year was a fun team to watch. They weren't too great, but they showed a lot of promise. I'm really, really excited for this upcoming season for Temple football, but it was fantastic. I mean, who doesn't love to just sit and talk football, right? Like talk about what you're seeing. It's great.
What was your roles as the assistant sports director for Temple?
Yeah, for WHIP, which is Temple's student-run radio station, which I'm heavily involved in, and it's been a tremendous experience ever since. But really, my role is just kind of coordinating things, answering questions, a lot of troubleshooting for people because they'll call me or text me and be like, "Hey, how does this work?" Or "Can you show me how to host?" Or "How do I get on the board?" Or "What's the phone number I need to put in for?" So just kind of being there, and I have a great team around me. Like as you said, I'm the assistant, so the gentleman who is the director, his name is Ray Dunn, and him and I have become very close friends over the past 3 years that we've been in WHIP. And we're always looking to expand. We're always looking to find new partnerships. We're always looking to have more opportunities because we're a department, the sports department in general has over 50 members. And, it wasn't always like that. So to have 50 guys kind of relying on myself and Ray to put them in the right position for the future. I mean, it's stressful at times, but it's fun because we're all trying to do the same things. We're all trying to end up in the same broadcast booths as everybody else. So it's been awesome. It's fantastic. And I'll still do it to the last day that I'm at Temple because it's just what I love.
What was your experience like as the broadcast intern with the Wilmington Blues Rockets?
Well, the Wilmington Blue Rocks, right? It's actually a funny story. I was so excited to do that. And I got called from one of my friends, said, "Hey, they're looking for somebody." I put in an application. I met some great people down there. And then what happened? COVID hit. So unfortunately, I wasn't even able to do that. I was hired. We were getting ready for the season. They had some great promotions. I don't know if you're an Office fan, but they were going to bring Stanley from The Office on The Office night. Like this was all. I was going to meet Stanley. I was so excited, and then unfortunately the season got canceled. So I never got a chance to do that. But it was something I was very excited for.
Are you doing an internship this upcoming season with the Wilmington Blues?
So I'm not sure. I'm going to have to reapply because I'm not sure if you know minor league baseball, but the Wilmington Blue Rocks actually changed affiliates. They were affiliated with the Kansas City Royals, and now they're affiliated with the Washington Nationals. So everything kind of changes. GM changes, coach changes, president changes. So I'm going to have to reapply for that. But, maybe it's something I can look forward to in the future.
Can you talk about, of course, what the day today is like for the Temple play-by-play for ice hockey?
Yeah. So if you look actually on my quarter zip, the TU Ice Network, I'm kind of repping right here. It's we have a lot of fun. It's what I probably like most about it is we're not really affiliated with any bigger organization. Like, for example, WHIP, like when we have sports departments in our sports meetings and things like that, like we have someone we have to report to. Like we are affiliated with Klein College. We have to make sure we're following guidelines, things like that. For the TU Ice Network, we just kind of are a bunch of guys who have a budget, and we bought equipment. It's run by a gentleman by the name of Dylan Coyle, who was fantastic. And we just go around and broadcast hockey games. I mean, it says it kind of says play by play in color on my LinkedIn, but on any given night, I can be the camera guy. I can do the graphic side and like the technology side of making like the producer almost getting us on air. Like I could do play by play, you could do color. So it changes night by night, but hockey and is one of the fastest sports to call. I don't know if you've ever had experience trying to call hockey, but it's fast, so you got to be prepared. But we have so much fun, and we actually have a game coming up on Wednesday, or tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that.
What is your time like as the fan ambassador for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Man, just saying that makes me smile, because it's so fun, and it's in addition to fan ambassador, I know we're going to get to it, but I'm a tour guide for the Eagles as well. So I kind of started on the tour guide side, and with the Philadelphia Eagles, there's something called the game day staff. And if you are part of the organization as a tour guide or whatever, you have to be part of the game day staff who are there on game days, right? It makes sense. And I didn't want to just be like a ticket taker. I didn't want to be someone who stood at like in the VOMs, which is kind of like the aisles to get to your sections. I didn't want to tell people where their seats were. So I looked for other opportunities and kind of what they had. And they had something called fan ambassadors. And when I was hired in my interview, I kind of told the person who was interviewing me, what I like to do. I'm more of like a talkative person. I like to interact with people. And she said, there's a program called the Fan Ambassadors for game days, and I think you'd really love it. And it's absolutely fantastic. And the guy who at first got me into it was actually his name was Brandon as well. And what we do is we get there super early on a game day. Like if the game that day starts at 1:00, we'll get to the stadium at around 8:00. 7:30, 8:00, and we'll go. We have a like a cabinet, like a metal cabinet. We have our backpacks in there. We have a bunch of Eagles merch in there, like some styrofoam footballs. We have some buttons. We have some stickers. We have some like cooler, like grilling supplies that we'll do like trivia with the fans, and whoever wins the trivia gets like this official Eagles grilling stuff. It's awesome. And it's really just getting to know people. Like you go out there in the parking lots, every single person there has a story about their experience getting to their spot that morning. Like if you go down to tailgate, you know that you're going to be waiting in line. You're going to be meeting some very intoxicated people. You're going to be trying to find a parking spot, right? Like everybody has a story they want to tell. And as soon as they know that like you represent quote unquote the Philadelphia Eagles, like you're working for the Eagles out there in the parking lots, they just automatically assume that you want to hear all their stories. So we get to talk to so many people. I mean, there's been times when I've met people who've made me cry, like telling me stories about how they got there or who they're with, why they're there. There's some great food out there. Because people love to cook for Eagles tailgates, but it's unbelievable. And it's something that just thinking about it, like just knowing that you're going to be at every game and you're going to be interacting with different people. And then once the game starts, if you, for example, if it's your birthday and you're going with maybe your parents or your uncle, whatever, can email the Eagles and say, hey, it's Brandon's birthday, and we're going to be sitting in section 134, row 12, seat 4 and 5. Do you mind coming to visit us during the game? So after we're done tailgating, right around kickoff, we'll go in, see our assignments, see who we have to go and visit. And then next thing you know, during the game, we're going to visit all these people. So I've saw people for birthdays. I've met people for engagements. They just got engaged in like the tailgate, or sometimes, here's a funny story. Sometimes they were going to get engaged in the game, and the guy didn't propose yet. We went with all these balloons and everything. We had to make it seem like it wasn't for them. So we had to come back later. I've had people have gender reveals. Like they made us like open the envelope and we threw confetti. Like we had people who were about to leave for the military. Like I met an 18-year-old kid. And at the time I was 19. So he was younger than me, and he was with his parents, and they said, yeah, in like 2 weeks he's leaving for he's leaving for the Air Force, is he's going overseas somewhere. And just to think about that, like it's unbelievable. But it's to answer your question, as I've kind of been ranting here, being a fan ambassador is so fun. And if you're ever at an Eagles game, for anybody who's going to listen to this, or even yourself, and you see someone with a gray polo or a gray jacket and a white polo shirt that says fan ambassador, wave us down, call us over, because we have free stuff and we want to give it to you. We want to make your experience better, and it's awesome.
That's so amazing. Can you talk about, of course, what your day is like as a tour guide?
Yeah, so I usually fan ambassadors kind of like on game days, and then everything else, like tours specifically, are on off days. So my favorite tour, and again, tours aren't operating right, unfortunately, but hopefully once they get back up and running. I haven't given a tour in almost a year, which is kind of crazy to think about. I think March 9th was the last time I gave a tour, because everything shut down. But again, little quick fact, if anyone wants to come on a tour and they're open, the best days to come on a tour are the Saturdays before a Sunday home game, because you can come around, the field's being painted. But day to day is you go in, you meet your group, you kind of find out who, if they're there for a birthday, because we have gifts for that, if they're there for retirement, if they're there for work events. Sometimes their work will schedule a tour for them so they can get out of the office and come down. Like, I think the greatest thing about it, and if you haven't already learned this about me, is I love learning and talking to new people. I love just getting to know them. So fan ambassador, I do the same thing. And even with the tour guides, I'm with these people for an hour and a half, kind of just bringing them around the stadium, and they're asking me any questions that they want. And I've kind of found out that the best people on the tour are grandparents, because they just kind of are there. They're not asking 1,000 questions. They're just kind of looking around, appreciating everything. And, the questions that they ask are like questions I haven't even thought about before. Like, of course, I get asked the same questions every tour, like how many seats, or how many crab fries do they sell, or, the typical questions. But I don't know, something about grandparents are pretty cool when they come on a tour, because they're always just so appreciative. And just like being a fan ambassador, I've had tours where I've cried. I've had tours where it hasn't been a good tour. I'll be honest with you. People really don't want to be there. But there's one times, and I have to tell this story, because this is one of the tours right after, or about 6 months after the Eagles won the Super Bowl. There was a woman, and I wasn't on this tour. I was told this story, but I got to meet the family afterwards. And there was a woman who kind of printed out almost like a 3-foot tall Super Bowl 52 ticket, and on the base of it she put her husband's a picture of her husband, because he had passed away and he never got to see the Eagles win the Super Bowl. And I'm gonna get teared up thinking about it. But when you come on a tour, you get to walk through the tunnel like the Eagles do, with the music and the lasers and everything else. And when they were going out to do it, she held up the ticket, and she had her husband, she was wearing her husband jersey, and she just walked through the stadium and walked through that tunnel to the field. Like, and she just said, this is for him. Like, that he would want to be here right now. So like, just heartwarming stories like that. I had another girl who just got done her last round of chemo. She rang the bell, she beat cancer, and where'd she come the first time after she got out of the hospital, not to go eat or go see her family? She came for an Eagles tour. And just like, those are you have no idea who you're going to meet. You have no idea who's going to walk in that door, celebrity or not, right? Like, we've had everybody from all over come and just want to see the Eagles stadium. So again, it's a long-winded answer, but if you have never been on an Eagles tour at Lincoln Financial Field, once they start up again, you got to come on, you got to take a tour. It'd be great if I was your tour guide, but if not, we have other great tour guides. But it's an awesome experience. You have to do it.
That's so amazing. Speaking about, of course, the tour guides, what happens during the tour? Like, do you get to visit, of course, the locker room?
I'm getting antsy just you asking me that question because I wish I could give you a tour right now. We meet, and I'll introduce myself. I'll give you some information about the Eagles, how we got started, why the Eagles color is green. Do you know that? Why is the Eagles color green?
No, I don't.
So the team before the Eagles was called the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets, and their colors were blue and yellow. And when the Eagles were started, they wanted to still commemorate the Yellow Jackets in some sense, so they combined the colors of blue and yellow and got the color green. That's why the Eagles are green to this day. Anyway, had to throw that in there. So we'll see some awesome like signed memorabilia from concerts. For example, like we've had Kenny Chesney in the past come and do a concert. So there's a signed Kenny Chesney guitar. If you've seen the movie Creed 2 with Michael B. Jordan and Sylvester Stallone, they filmed a small portion of that movie in the link. So they actually signed boxing gloves and they put them on there. So there's a bunch of like signed celebrity memorabilia like Taylor Swift and things like that. The SB that the Eagles won for the best play for Philly special at the Super Bowl. The SB's in there. You can see that. Then we'll go see the field. We'll go do the locker room. We'll walk out of the locker room onto the field with the music and the lasers that I was talking about, just like the team does. With the song is called AC/DC for Those About to Rock. So if anyone wants to listen to a song, get them hyped up, you can listen to the same one the Eagles do. It's For Those About to Rock. And then we'll go up to the press box, which for someone like me in journalism and in media like that is really cool. We'll go see where Merrill Reese broadcasts from. We'll go into see where like Joe Buck and Troy Aikman are during the game in the TV booth. We'll go into a suite. You get to walk around. We have a new Eagles Autism Challenge. There's a sensory room that they opened inside partnering with the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, where if anybody who has autism or any other special needs comes to the game and they kind of just need an area to go and get away from the noise, get away from the crowd, we have a sensory room for that. So going to see that, usually always makes people really happy, and just getting to walk around an empty stadium. And I think a lot of people have made the point where when you're walking around with 70,000 people, you really don't notice everything around you. Like you don't notice that there's boards up top with the greatest Eagles that have played every position. If you're on the main concourse, that goes all the way around. But when you have 70,000 people and you're not trying to get beer spilled on you or crab fries dropped or anything like that, you don't notice it. So I think people really like just being alone at the stadium, having their time to walk around and get a chance to see everything, because it really is pretty cool.
Of course, whenever you do locker rooms in the tour, like for the tours, do they get to take like a picture of like, let's say Carson Wentz, who is the quarterback and stuff? Do they get to like take a photo with his locker?
Yeah, and the craziest thing about it is before there used to be a rule that said no photos allowed on the tour, or excuse me, just in the locker room. No photos allowed in the locker room. Well, that's changed. So you can record the whole tour, take as many pictures as you want, and you actually learn a little bit about kind of the system that goes into preparing for a game. So when you walk into a locker room on, say, a Wednesday afternoon, there's probably not going to be much in the lockers. There might be like their warm-up gear. You might see like their shower slides, or you might see, if they, for example, Fletcher Cox, he always leaves a jar of honey in his locker. And I got to meet him one time and I asked him, I said, everybody on my tour always asks, why do you have honey? And he says, right before the game, he takes a spoonful of honey and it's almost like an energy boost for him. So you'll see stuff like that. And you can take as many pictures as you want. And the greatest thing about it is in the locker room, we also have the Super Bowl 52 Vince Lombardi trophy on display for people to take pictures with as well. So that's usually always a great attraction.
Of course, within the locker room, I know that, for example, the Steelers, they have like where, of course, their logo on the ground, it's guarded for only game days. Is that something that y'all have too, where like it's guarded so you can still take photos, but there's a rope right there?
There is. And I don't know if you post this on like Facebook or YouTube to see like visual wise, but I got excited as soon as you said that, because it's something that we talk about before the tours even begin. There's a giant eagle on the floor of the locker room. And if you go back and watch the post game after the NFC Championship game, you see Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie dancing on it, which is pretty funny. A tour, nobody, and I mean nobody, is allowed to step on that eagle. We say it's bad luck. We say, hey, you step on the eagle, it's bad luck for the team. And if the team loses on Sunday, we know who to come after because we know you're the one who stepped on that eagle. So yes, and the only people who are allowed to step on it are the Eagles players, and they dance on it if they win the game. If they don't win the game that afternoon, they won't even step on it before or after. But they have to win the game, and then they'll usually put music on and dance on it after the game. But yes, I personally did not know that about the Steelers, that they had one in their locker room, but the Eagles do too, and it is roped off. Yeah.
What is something that you learn now that you didn't know before you started as a fan ambassador?
How much people love the Philadelphia Eagles, how devoted people are to that team. And I'm 20 years old. I'll be 21 in May. So like I really haven't and I remember watching the Eagles growing up. Like, of course, Donovan McNabb was like the guy who I watched growing up, number 5, right? That's who I was used to. But you start talking to these people like grandparents and guys who've been who are in the parking lot, and you just start talking to them, and they've come to the same spot in the same parking lot every home game for the past 50 years. You're like, 50 years? Like, that's what? Like, that's insane. And I was like, the Link hasn't even been here for 50 years. And they're like, well, we were in a parking lot at the same spot until they moved us. And when the Link was built, we've been in the same spot ever since. So I think that just the resiliency of this fan base, of course, and I'm not sure if you're a Philadelphia fan or not, but we have good seasons and we have bad seasons. And just part of being a Philadelphia fan is kind of brushing them off and saying, hey, next season will be better because we'll go whatever. But it's these fans have been there no matter what. And I could talk for hours about the things that I've saw. And the craziest thing about it is sometimes I'll give someone a tour on a Saturday before a game, and then I'll say, hey, if is anybody coming to the game, and then I'll go meet them in the parking lot. So I think just the love for the love of the fans for the team, and just really how they're consistent, they're resilient, and nothing is going to stop them. Rain, snow, sleet, or hail, they're going to be out in that parking lot, and they're going to be booing. And if you walk in that stadium with an opposing jersey on, you better not hope that, if I act nice to the Philly fans, they won't boo me. No, that BS, right? They're gonna boo you. It's just who we are, and it's I think being a fan ambassador, I've learned how the fans love the city and love the team, and it's just something that I can't even put it into words. It's really fantastic.
What advice would you give upcoming future people looking to get into the professional sports as a fan engagement?
Yeah, so I mean, I started just being a tour guide because someone told me about it. And my mom worked there. She was a supervisor, and she said, "Hey, they're looking for tour guides. Do you want to be a tour guide?" And I said, "Well, I graduate high school in 2 months. Maybe I can start and do that for the summer." And just being a tour guide and being part time and working when I can, I've met so many people. So if I have any advice, and it's crazy that you're asking me for advice because I feel like I should be asking people for advice for myself because I don't even feel like I'm at that point yet. But it's get involved in whatever you can, take any job, and don't be afraid to be denied. Don't be afraid to ask a question you're afraid to ask, because you'd be surprised how many people remember you for the silliest things. And you'd be surprised how many people I've gotten to know just from being a tour guide and walking around the stadium. Like I know everybody, people from the ticket office, people from the carpentry team, just because they're out riding their golf carts around as I'm giving tours. We always I wave to them. They know who I am. So whatever organization, whatever job it is, take it and get to know as many people as possible. And just kind of climb that ladder and be patient with it, because, I don't know where I'm going to be next year. I'm a junior. I have one more year at Temple, then I'm out in the real world. And, for me, I'm just keeping the faith that the connections that I have and the people that I know are good experiences. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for. And so I think I'd end it with that, is just get to know as many people as possible, have as many people get to know you, be memorable. And it's, just have faith that what you're doing is you're in, have faith in what you're doing, and what you're doing is the right thing that you're supposed to be doing at that time. I think I'll say that.
That's wonderful advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
Yeah, man, I need more Twitter followers. I gotta get up to Brandon Sports Talk Twitter followers level there. So on Twitter, I am at Zach Demusz, and that my last name, I'm sure it's going to be around here somewhere, but it's DEMUSZ at ZACH Demusz. So feel free to follow me. Feel free to reach out for advice, or you want to schedule a tour. I'm on LinkedIn as well as Zachariah Demusz. That's my full name, and Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. I'm all over the place.
Thank you again, Zach Demusz, for your interview, and best of luck in your upcoming year with the Philadelphia Eagles.
It's been a blast. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Zach, for your interview, and best of luck.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.